facility on the Kiwanis field. We had talked about using that for transportation, but because of the cost of building the transportation, converting that building, right now our more immediate need is for a warehouse. We've been having to use the Woolsey Firehouse, and we've been having to use those rental places to store kitchen equipment when it comes in, because we do not have any place to store it. Plus our current little warehouse down here at the old gym, the floor is not in good condition, and there are a lot of issues with things being in a fire hazard. We're concerned about that. So we felt like it would be best if it would require no money at all, really, with that current facility. We wouldn't have to put any additional money into the current. We don't want to put any further money in that current facility down there. It's too old. It's an old gym. It's not in good shape. So that's what we were talking about. The buses are still parked down at Kiwanis Field. We still do some of our training down there, and that could still go on, even if this were used as a warehouse, that facility down there. Also, the warehouse location, probably, Mr. Albert, when we talked about that, there wouldn't have to be a whole lot done to that facility currently, would there?
No. The only thing, we would have to put racks to store the paper goods and things of that nature, but as far as and putting out a lot of money to fix it for a warehouse now, out of the capital outlay.
Are the plans then now to use that site for the warehouse, or to use it for both eventually?
Well, currently it would be for the warehouse, because that's the more immediate need. Our warehouse is inadequate, it's not large enough. You know, remember we always tried to have a place to store things, and we have been unable to, and have had to use the fire stations and pay for the facilities where you rent storage. The aquatic center, now that's something that we realize is a big project. As you know, we do own property across the Bennisville Middle School. It is owned by us. We didn't turn it over to anybody. We didn't lease it to anybody. It's still our property. So we have a location. If we wanted to contribute to the construction of that facility, we were informed by some people in the Peachtree City government that the future of Kedron Pool is uncertain. They've run into budget problems also, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to put that bubble up in the future. So we've been exploring the possibility of having our swim teams to have to go over to the Clayton County facility in Jonesboro to go swimming for the practice and meets. All of our home meets were in Clayton County last year anyway. All of our home meets were held at the Clayton County facility in Jonesboro. So in another year, we may not have a place to hold meets or practices, because if the Peachtree City facility is not there, people from Sandy Creek and Stars Mill and McIntosh would have to go all the way to Jonesboro to practice 6 o'clock in the morning.
Don't the buses bring them back from practice to school?
The buses bring them back, but the kids have to get there themselves right now.
But then that would mean sending school bus to Jonesboro.
If we were to get permission to use that facility.
If that, yeah.
Now, we don't, the county's also looking at doing something. Their plan shows a need for an aquatic center, their recreation plan, but they haven't come out with exactly what they want to do yet either, and that's why we put in there as a possibility, if the board wanted to keep that in there as one of the options as we continue to discuss this, that it would have, we're talking about partnering with the county if they wanted to also contribute, because they see a need for a pool as well. So that's kind of why that is in there. There was something about did you have any figures on the amount of money that would be rebated to the property owners if a SPLOST were to go into effect and we give a reduction in property taxes because of the sales tax? Did you
Yes, sir.
want to go over that?
If you look on page 9, and then also on page 11, the bottom of page 9 has debt service. If we were to collect the maximum amount on the on a SPLOST that we would like would be $115 million. I have a potential millage rate reduction by applying those collections to the 1999, the 2001 issue, and then to a portion of the 2005 issue, totaling almost $38 million. And it shows there in 2010 a millage rate reduction of,
She said page 9.
page 9, go back one, Kathy, 0.833, and then again in 2011, 1.595 mils. So you're seeing a significant reduction in the needed millage rate just from that over the next 5 to 6 years. And remember, and Kathy, if you'll scroll down to page 11, I tried to just show the difference of where we're really at right now, starting with 2010, based on the last year's tax digest of what that debt service calculated out on a millage rate would be. And see, 2010 is a heavy year because we have $20 million of debt service in that year, and with that SPLOST we can reduce it. And you see it is pretty significant. And of course those numbers are assuming that we're on track to collect a full $115 million. If we were to collect only, say, $100 million, which I feel very confident that would be the minimum amount we collect, the millage rate in those years 2014, 15, and 16 would be slightly different. We would allocate a few dollars less towards the debt service.
Can we get that fiscal?
Let me ask a question on that, be sure I got it right.
Yes, sir.
The SPLOST would be for 5 years, right?
Correct.
Okay, but yet you show 7 years on here. Could you?
Right. Well,
explain why
you don't have to spend it out the same exact year that you collect it. And even though we would hope to be collecting about $20 million the first year,
Right.
we have our first debt service payment like in August. So I don't want to say we're going to apply $20 million that we haven't collected yet in those first 2 months of collection, because the earliest we would be collecting money would be June of next year. So we would have June, July, and maybe a little bit of August before having to make a debt service payment. So I don't want to promise.
Would you do it on a monthly basis, or how does it work?
You collect money monthly from the state, but it's 60 days in arrears of collection from vendors.
How often we apply to the bond?
Basically, you can just put the money in, and the last 2 pages or 3 pages I have, I tried to look at just a rough look at a cash flow of collecting and allocating those monies. So my first several payments are receipts I would want to allocate so we could hurry up and buy textbooks and hurry up and do security the first of the fiscal year, 2010, and then the remaining collections be earmarked for debt until we built up a balance sufficient to make sure we had enough cash on hand to make those payments. Because it's really important if you're going to go ahead and reduce your millage rate that you have that cash on hand when those payments come due. And then the rest of it, you know, it can move a little bit depending on what's the priority. You know, is it a priority us go ahead and order buses now so we have them in December, or are we going to order them now and have them for the next fiscal year?
Are we allowed to put the receipts in some sort of interest-bearing
Yes.
account?
Yes.
Okay, so there's no restrictions on
Right,
that.
and then you use the interest that you earn on the SPLOST back into those SPLOST projects.